Please, let's go. Honorable Otiende Amollo, you had a point of order also?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a few days ago, the Honorable Fatuma Gedi made statements that were deemed offensive to Standing Order number 91-1 and was asked to substantiate. And this afternoon, I have seen her carrying a big bag that suggests that she's ready to substantiate. But Mr. Speaker, before she does, I think there are some issues of principle that you need to guide us on, because we are on uncharted waters. Mr. Speaker, I raise under Standing Order number 1, 90 and 91 as read together with Article 51 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the words that the Honorable Fatuma Gedi is now required to substantiate, and I have no doubt that she must rise to the occasion, were words to the effect that the Honorable His Excellency the Deputy President is a land grabber and that we are not safe in his hands. Now, Mr. Speaker, in that context, the standing orders require you, under Standing Order number 91-2, to listen keenly to what she says and to be convinced that she has substantiated, failing which you must then take her to Standing Order number 107. Mr. Speaker, what then you are required to be persuaded on is a matter of fact on the allegations in respect of the Deputy President. Mr. Speaker, when then you are required to make that decision, you sit in a quasi-judicial capacity. Indeed, in accordance with Article 51, you are a tribunal, and you must be impartial, and you must be independent on those questions of fact. Is it true that the Deputy President is a land grabber? Fact, which has to be demonstrated. Is it true that we are not safe in his hands? Fact, which has to be demonstrated. Mr. Speaker, it then puts us in difficulty because the Constitution describes the members of the National Assembly, the 349, and then says, and the Speaker, who shall be ex officio. But it doesn't help, because when you go to the definition, it says a member of Parliament is a member of Parliament. So is the Speaker, for these purposes, a member of Parliament who must disclose conflict of interest under Article 91 or not? Mr. Speaker, that question of fact, I think, will put you in difficulty, because we take judicial notice, Mr. Speaker, that you have found it fit to take sides with the Deputy President, which means, by definition, in terms of whether we are safe in his hands, your answer has been yes. It therefore makes it difficult for you to come to a conclusion of fact in respect of that question by this member. Mr. Speaker, I want to save you the difficulty of having to be a judge in your own cause, because that then will be a question of fact. And Mr. Speaker, the Speaker then, having decided that the matter must be substantiated, I would suggest, Mr. Speaker, that the person to make that decision should not be yourself, because that goes against the most basic tenet of fair trial, which is in our Constitution. You cannot be a judge in your own cause. And those issues are serious, Mr. Speaker. They are so serious that if the Honorable Fatuma Gedi is able to substantiate, they can even take us to the provisions of Article 94. And in those provisions, sub-Article 5, the question of removal of the Deputy Speaker for breach of the Constitution is to be initiated in this House. The Deputy President, sorry. If the substantiation was so clear that we said we don't just want to stop there, we actually want to initiate the removal, then what will the Speaker do? It puts you in great difficulty. And there's one more, Mr. Speaker. The provisions of Article 90 on conflict of interest, we are all required to disclose conflict of interest. And conflict of interest is described to include personal relationship. We know that you have a personal relationship now with the Deputy President. Is the Speaker required to disclose that as a Well, I will use the words of the standing order, personal, and it can extend to political. Mr. Speaker, it includes for both now and for future, where a speaker has chosen to take side, because it's unprecedented. We know we all have political affiliations, but like a judge, it's assumed that once you occupy that office, then those affiliations do not come to the fore. But when they come to the fore for futuristic purposes, rather than historical, then it means there's an issue of conflict. How does the substantive speaker handle this? Mr. Speaker, I'd like you to give guidance, because I know you can remove yourself from that situation of conflict temporarily, and give clear guidance for present and for future on this very unprecedented situation. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
No, honourable members, these are not very difficult issues. I don't need assistance on this. Fortunately, I want to begin from, so that I'll respond to all those ones. Now, honourable members, this is